But yeah, we'll pivot on because the other news, Super Rugby, baby.
Super Rugby is back.
It's back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, this weekend things get underway, and yeah, can't wait. It's gonna be an exciting one. I don't know how it's gonna go. Here, it's all conjecture pre kickoff. Obviously, the easy thing to say is that the Crusaders are favourites because the
Yes,
Crusaders are
indeed.
Crusaders. But we're all starting off as usual, isn't it, with domestic?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the fixture list this week, unfortunately, I can't get them to load in Irish time, but I have the local times up. So there's Chiefs Highlanders is the starting. I think that's at 6:30 in the morning Irish time
Right.
on Friday morning. I love Super Rugby because it actually regulates my sleep schedule. Gets me up in the morning.
Yeah.
It's
Better than any alarm clock.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
It's great for that. Chiefs Highlanders again. That's a fun game to start with. I
Yeah.
mean, certainly
Yeah.
put it on your recording box or if, however you want to get it, if you stream it. It's one that's worth getting up for because it's like the Kiwi derbies are always the cream of the crop when it comes to
It's
this
true.
tournament.
As far as standard, it's become more
Yeah.
so like the Kiwi conference is really what you're looking at in terms of innovation a lot of the time.
And
in
the
this tournament.
Chiefs in particular, personnel wise, perhaps not as many, esteemed names as they have had in years gone by. But they always have a bit of hustle and a bit of creativity about them.
Yeah, they have that identity very much founded. It's like what it is to be a chief,
Yeah.
and it's like they play a game a certain way. So it doesn't necessarily matter who the names on the jerseys are. They're going to play a style that's very very relatable because you see it all the time from.
Where the Highlanders have Ben Smith,
And they do have Ben
need you
Smith.
say more than that?
I do not need before I watch it. No,
Yeah.
the prospect of seeing Ben Smith play rugby is normally enough for me.
And just as topping, you might get to see some Aaron Smith and Waisaki Naholo and Liam Squire
and some of those
Yeah.
class All Blacks who are littered throughout
indeed.
the team.
It's
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 a
good
really
watching.
fixture.
It's also Super Rugby in general, but especially in New Zealand, is just like there's always at least one wild card dude who's going to make it into the World Cup squad who we don't know yet.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I'd say it's just
So it's
every
exciting to know who that might be.
who that might be.
Who's
indeed.
the 21-year-old superstar winger who's coming in coming to take Rico's jersey
Can
off
you
him?
imagine?
Yeah. Rico's gone, by the way.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Rico's off to Toulon.
Yeah. It's before the season's out.
Yeah, that's
It's
just
the
how
kind
they
of
do.
stuff that goes on. It's why they never have any wingers in the top end of international try scoring charts because they just axe them before any of that can happen.
The other games going on Friday later in that morning, Brumbies are playing the Rebels.
Yeah.
The Hurricanes are on the road to Australia. They have to play the Waratahs. Sunwolves are hosting the Sharks in Singapore. Bulls are playing the Stormers. Jaguares are playing the Lions. That's the full week. The game of the week though that I've left out is on Saturday morning, and I think it's another Kiwi derby. I think it's full of intrigue, and that is the Blues with their new coaching setup. Tanu Umaga's not gone, but he's now defensive coach. They've got a new head coach in. They've also got they've got pulled off some results in pre-season against I think the Canes and a couple other teams, and they've had a good pre-season. They do have their starting 10 was Stephen Perifetta, who there was a bit of talk about, but he's gone down injured this season. But they also have a bulky enough little midfielder 3/4 line, with Sonny Bill Williams and the return of Manonu in the centre. Not to mention Rico Ioane on the wing.
There's danger all over
for the Crusaders D. That's a test straight up. Yeah.
And like Crusaders who like to kind of flow into a season, trundle in very methodically. Like they could be caught cold away from home.
It's the first time that we've seen Sonny Bill and Manonu play together since the World Cup final.
That might be true.
Yeah. Where they were just tearing Australia asunder.
Yes. Yeah. Now they're not up against Australia now. They're against Crusaders.
Yeah, so tougher challenge. Sure.
But
Kiwi fans will like that one.
Yeah, maybe the Aussies will be annoyed at that one. And to be fair, that was a great Aussie team they were tearing apart. So this does bode well for the Blues' chances compared to years gone by. But then I'm not going to hold my breath on that.
No,
because too
every
often,
year.
and the Blues fans, if anyone's a Blues fan, there you have my sympathies because it's so easy to get excited when you read a Blues team sheet and think it's going to be class. And then to watch it not be class in varying ways is very often
new coach though, bro.
Baffling. Yeah, new coach. Yeah,
new coach.
Yeah.
Come on,
there's hope.
It's time.
Yeah,
Auckland Rising.
Maybe, but then what might happen, as has happened the last 2 seasons, is that the Crusaders might happen and get rid of all of those plans.
Surely not 3 years.
3 in a row.
The Rog Masterclass. Yeah.
Rogers impressing me with his punditry and his on it kind of interpretation of how rugby's going as well.
Honestly,
But,
Scott Robertson magic rubbing off. He's he's very thoughtful now about the game.
Introspective, very wise seeming.
Exactly.
Yep.
He's like the sage who's come back from the mountain and learned it all.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's an evidence and insight. Ronan O'Gara coming back and just doing punditry all over here is just an insight into the thinking that's going on, the elite level thinking that's going on
about the game. Certainly in places like the Crusaders, where it's like there are a few better places to be learning about the game and all of its facets.
You don't go far in Super Rugby betting against the Crusaders.
You don't.
So certainly the Blues are just one to watch for box office.
Definitely.
Also, Man Onu is a man who's going to be determined. Like, he's back in New Zealand.
I'll be curious to see what kind of shape.
That's what he's there for.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm curious to see what kind of shape he's going to come in. Hopefully, he'll have lost some of those weight, extra kilos he picked up along the road in France.
I tell you, the pace of the game might shock him after a few years out of the game.
In France, that's a worry. Like, he's coming back from a place where it couldn't be further removed from Super Rugby pace. Like, it couldn't at all.
He's going to be trying to get his breath, and Sonny Bill's going to be throwing offloads at him, and he's going to be like, after running it.
Yeah.
So it's full of curiosity, and certainly that's the Kiwi derbies are certainly, for spectators, neutrals, those are probably the ones to watch.
Who are away in the Taz is the Hurricanes.
Hurricanes are away in Australia playing the Taz.
Yeah, that's a potentially exciting.
There's
game
a couple
of
nuggets from Australia, obviously, and they could use the help, but at the moment, after last year's, and to me, as much as I love the bloke, it's a permanent black mark against Brad Thorne for how he chose to deal with
Quade Cooper and just turned the Reds into a still ineffective but now somehow less exciting and worse to look at version of that, which was that good value? Certainly in the context of the tournament, no.
And in the context of the Reds, no. They didn't work for them.
Carmichael Hunt.
They didn't end up playing to their strengths.
To be fair, I like Brad Thorne a lot, and as Leinster fans, we owe him quite a bit in terms of his contribution to us. But yes,
he has his own mind about how to build a team, and he was just in a team that wasn't suited to being built that way, and is determined just to hammer it out that way.
Yeah.
So he's done his version of cleaning house, which is removing arguably the two most talented players from the squad, and we'll see how that goes for the Reds. But practically speaking, you have Carmichael Hunt now is playing for the Waratahs, and Quade Cooper is playing for the Rebels.
Yeah.
And both of those boys are going to be super motivated, and you're going to get a chance to see some loosey-goosey Aussie rugby.
Yes, and, which is an important flavour of Super Rugby.
It is indeed.
It creates some wonder tries.
It does indeed.
For both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple of other notes. That Tony Brown, whose guy I really rate, he was the Highlanders coach when they won. I think he was one of their coaches. He was their backs coach when he worked with Jamie Joseph.
Right.
And won Super Rugby. He was rumoured at one point to take over Leinster after I think when Matt O'Connor did get the job, he was rumoured to get the job.
Okay. What a different world that might have been.
Indeed. He's a very smart guy, loves his trick plays and his moves off set piece.
Right.
He's one of those, like a Justin Marshall, who sees a scrum and is thinking of all kinds of shapes.
Insta-calling it.
Yeah, all kinds of shapes, and likes to have a team with a bit of discipline as well. But he has become head coach of the Sunwolves ahead of this season.
That bodes well.
I expect to see some creative play from
at least some organised play.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
Exactly.
The Sunwolves, it feels like they've been going for a few years now. It'd be nice to see them get a little bit of form, a little bit of growth that leads to them being a bit more combative in competitive fixtures.
Such a mad franchise. I mean, they spend more time on planes than they do on the rugby field.
Yeah, and
that's it can't be good.
It's true. But, it's got to be a factor. Sure, we've talked about that with Argentina as well, and the Jaguares are kind of in a similar boat with that concern.
They're a little kinder to the Jaguares in the way that it works out. I guess they can be with the Sunwolves as well, now that it's not 18 teams.
It's like blocks where they go to a place for a while, so they don't have to do that
the
much
Jaguares are in the SAFA conference, the South African conference, so they spend a block of fixtures in South Africa, getting all their away fixtures out of the way. All the South African teams come to them and they play a block of fixtures at home. which is definitely a nicer way and a fairer way to do it.
For
and
sure.
I think they must do something similar with the Sunwolves, but it feels like they're the team that's always just at the back. Like when they're making the fixture list, they just fill in the blanks with the Sunwolves. They make it work for everyone else. And then, and the Sunwolves are going to New Zealand this week, and then South Africa, and then they have a home match, and then Australia.
Back to Cape Town. Straight there from Australia.
Yeah.
And we're going to stop over in Dubai for a photo op. And then we'll be back there.
We're play one of our home games in Twickenham because
we need to grow the game. We need to spread it to that English market that we're just trying to crack into. I don't know. It was a stat from last year that it was like Creevy had flown around the world like 4 times or something in the space of one season between his duties with Argentina and with the Jaguares, and it was just like, that's mental. That's surely not good enough. And it was like, it plays into the fatigue factor that you see a lot of in terms of Argentina on a national level, but also some of the Jaguares performances and some of those Sunwolves performances where it's like you feel
the team are off a step.
The team are off a step from what you've watched the week before. Some of that at least has to be down to that jet lag and that travel.
I think the re-reducing. This is obviously the second year of it, of the competition down to 15 teams instead of 18. Definitely is an improvement.
Yeah.
So essentially, you have the Sunwolves as an extra Australian team, insofar as that makes any sense.
Right.
And the Jaguares as an extra South African team, which should help to block up the fixtures somewhat. But obviously, it's still a
work in progress, because I think
crosses the Indian and Pacific Oceans.
And the new system of that, I think once the inclusion of these Jaguares and Sunwolves teams, we haven't quite got it right as far as how the structure of the comp is concerned, because there are a few glaring issues, like it's not exclusively down to them, but just the run of fixtures leading to the Lions making a final without ever having played a game in the regular season.
I don't think that can happen before. They never had to go to
New Zealand, and yet they're in the final of the tournament. It's like, that feels very punitive on some teams who've played 3 or 4 times in a matter of weeks in New Zealand and got hockeyed each time. That's like, it feels not right.
The Lions, they managed to accrue enough points to never have to travel in postseason, so they made a final. At home final without ever, so they could have won the whole tournament and never had to go and play New Zealand away. That just seems very I think they fixed some of those problems, obviously not all,
as well as there being just slightly too many teams before, but also just like some non-competitive fixtures throughout, and some kind of duds throughout the course of the regular season, and it's kind of all seemed to be leading up to wait for the minnows to be removed from the consideration before it gets interesting. And I couple that with a few, like the misfiring Australian teams as well didn't help with that, where it was just, there was such a noticeable dip where you're looking at Aussie conferences and the points accrued and the win ratios versus New Zealand conferences and South African conferences, and it's like, here now, what's going on with the equity of this system?
It's a curious, like the South African ones, obviously Dwayne Vermeulen is back for the Stormers. They're in a good place, South Africa. For sure. Razzie's going to be managing things to a degree. The Lions have they've actually already named their team to play the Jaguares at the weekend. Wow. Pretty early.
Pretty brazen stuff.
I guess he's at 10. But they have, like, it's full of South African internationals. They have, obviously Skasan and Andres Katsia guys and Yankees. They're all going to be Lionel Mapu as well. All these guys.
It's good to see him back. Really good to see Lionel
Mapu
back.
in favour with your man Alistair Katsia, but not at all in the Razzie era. None of those guys. So they're going to be highly motivated to play themselves back in.
Or a shot for confidence. You never know. I don't know.
No, I think.
Will they come across a bullish new look Jaguares and get shocked?
The Jaguares are a team that, like, rather than in South Africa where you're talking about in terms of a World Cup context, you're just chugging along doing what you do. They're going to be pretty happy. It's just getting the guys loose and back playing rugby for now. Like, what you're looking at with the Jaguares is a group of players who need to get some confidence, need to get some form. And
this side of the World Cup,
a lot of that could be done perhaps, and is usually done in an Argentinian context pre-World Cup. They have a long sort of pre-season.
Well, it's like to go back on that point I made before in terms of the travel. Like, Argentina are definitely a team that benefit from World Cup camps. Same as teams like Fiji and stuff, where you can get there, you can get settled, you can do your training, you can get your systems, and you don't have to fly anywhere. And that's wonderful for them, and also just a welcome relief, so they can kind of play above their station as far as the rankings reflect. purely because that gets skewed a lot by November tests and summer tests in terms of just, well, less so summer tests, they're not travelling, but certainly November tests where they have to bounce around the world.
Even Fiji do have to travel sometimes for summer tests. They have to go to like maybe Australia and play a game,
and then they're in the
back
US.
to Suva and then off to the US. Yeah,
that kind of stuff. Yeah, for sure. So it's like that's always skewed, and it means that they're more benefit for that. And the fact that we're starting at home for them, they've been in camp for however long now. This is now. Like I don't know. I'm curious as to what kind of performance they put in. I'll be very disappointed if it's quite a tame loss as it has been before. I'm wondering, will it still be the loosey goosey play that we seem to have got in the last few years? Anytime a Jaguares team has played against a South African team, it's always been very fast and loose, and the defensive systems are not really bossing it as much as the offense is.
You have to expect one of the things though in Super Rugby tends to take a few weeks to heat up, although the Kiwi derbies will definitely help in that department. Is that like it's very much August over there, like it's very much early season, getting your hands on the pill. Like we're from a Northern Hemisphere perspective, we're in the middle of the Six Nations. This is peak of the season, and it's just only going to get more and more climactic as the season goes on all the way to May.
And then beyond, because then it switches into World Cup mode.
Exactly, but from their perspective, it's very much we're starting out, getting the boys back on the pitch, seeing who's fit, seeing who's healthy, and throwing a bit of ball around. And it's going to be fun viewing
for sure. Yeah. Anything else to say on it? Or
no, I think that's good. That's good.
Super Rugby, it's back, and we're delighted. And to any Northern Hemisphere fans out there, try and watch a bit of Super Rugby because it's class. It's always. It's no good to get blinkered, particularly which can happen in the Six Nations in the context of thinking that like these are the only games happening and this is the only way to play rugby ever that exists ever in the world, and it's all the while there's a whole other brand that's going on in the other hemisphere, and it's very interesting because it's very often innovative, particularly with things like New Zealand Kiwi derbies. There's always some new innovation, some new insight, and something to be looking out for.
Absolutely, should be a fun one, and catch a couple of games. Thanks for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you want to subscribe, there should be a button up here. Don't forget to give us a like and share with your friends. And please leave comments down below. We love the conversation. Thanks.